Hello students, so in this video, in my earlier videos on tissue, I have described plant tissue, meristematic and permanent tissues of plants. Here we'll be discussing about animal tissue. So here is the flow chart showing the different types of animal tissue. So basically there are four types of animal tissue: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. So these are the four major types of animal tissues. Now when we say epithelial tissue means the tissue which forms the covering of any organ, covering of your entire body. All this covering tissue is called epithelial tissue. Just like in case of plants, we have got epidermis and endodermis. So epithelial tissue can be further classified into four types: squamous epithelial, cuboidal, ciliated columnar epithelial and stratified squamous epithelium. So these are the four types of epithelial tissue. Next is connective tissue. Connective tissue can be broadly classified into three more types: connective tissue proper, skeletal connective tissue and fluid or vascular connective tissue. So as the name indicates, connective tissue will be connecting the different parts of your body. So under connective tissue proper, we have four more types: areolar, adipose, ligament and tendon. Under skeletal connective tissue, we have bone and cartilage. Under fluid or vascular connective tissue, we have blood and lymph. Next is muscular tissue. Muscular tissue, as the name indicates, it will form the muscles of your body, which will help in movement of the body parts. So they are of three types: striated, unstriated or smooth, and cardiac muscular tissue. And the fourth type is nervous tissue. It does not have sub-classification, but it is made up of neurons. We'll be discussing that later. So I'll be making three videos on animal tissue. In this video, we'll be discussing epithelial tissue. In the next video, we'll be discussing connective tissue, which is quite elaborate. Next is muscular, and in the third video, we'll be discussing muscular tissue and nervous tissue. So that way we'll proceed. So let us have a look at the epithelial tissue, which forms the covering of the different body parts. Now when we talk about epithelial tissue, if you can see the page clearly. Okay, so the first type is squamous epithelial tissue. Squamous means flat. So these cells are flat tiles-like cells, just like the tiles we have in our homes, and they do not have all the epithelial tissue. You'll find they are tightly packed with each other. They don't have intercellular space. The reason is they will form the covering of any body part, and their main function is protection. So if they have intercellular space, what will happen? The different substances or microbes from outside may go into the deeper tissue. So since they are protective in nature, that's why the epithelial tissue as a whole, they do not have intercellular space. So these are flat cells, and only the central part will have swelling because of presence of nucleus, tiles-like cells. So where they are found? They will be found in those parts of your body where exchange of substances needs to take place. So exchange of substances like takes place in the alveoli or the air space in your lungs, in the blood capillaries. So the lining of blood capillaries and alveoli, all these have squamous epithelium. Next are some cuboidal cells. So they have centrally located nucleus. So that's the structure. So the cuboidal epithelial cells are found in ducts of glands. Ducts means the tubes of the gland, like salivary gland is there. So the tube of the salivary glands will have lining. The lining will have these cells. Then lining of kidney tubules. Kidney tubules means inside the kidney there are some filtering tubes which are called nephrons. So the lining of those nephrons have cuboidal epithelium. Next we have columnar epithelium. Columnar epithelium are pillar-like cells. So the base of the cells, the nucleus will be located towards the base of the cell, and towards the free end of the cell, their cell lining is generally converted into some fine hair-like structure which are called cilia, and therefore we call these ciliated columnar epithelium. So these cilia, they increase the surface area. First of all, if you have cilia like this on the membrane, suppose the cell membrane is converted into cilia. So these finger-like processes will actually increase the surface area, and not only that, when they move around, suppose there is a particle, they will help the particle to move forward. So that is the function of the cilia, which is found on the upper side of the cells. That's why these are called ciliated columnar epithelium. Where they are found? They are found in bronchi. Bronchi are the tubes which divides from the trachea or the windpipe. So normally when dust particles enter, we start coughing. That is due to the very rapid lashing of the cilia. They want to throw out those particles. Then in uterine tubules like urethra and all, then in the digestive tract it is present, which helps in absorbing the digested food. So these are the places where you'll find columnar ciliated epithelium. Now certain parts of the body are there where there is constant wear and tear. Wear and tear means suppose you are walking on the road without shoes. So your skin is exposed to very rough surface. Suppose you rub your hand against the wall. So that is, you are having different kind of food, hard food, nuts and all. So your mouth, the walls of your mouth, they undergo tremendous friction, and the cells generally undergoes wear and tear. So to withstand that wear and tear in some portion of your body, like in your mouth, esophagus means your food pipe, and the skin, these squamous cells are found in multiple layers. So these are called stratified squamous epithelium. Stratified means strata. They are found in different layers, so that even if few layers gets removed, the other layers will be intact. So that's stratified squamous epithelial. So these are the major 4 types of epithelial tissue. Apart from that, there are some other modifications as well, like you might get even a stratified cuboidal. So like that, different subclassification is there whatsoever. Now you have to observe one more thing. All the cells, they are located on some layer which is acellular layer, and this layer is called the basement membrane. There is the acellular layer, basement membrane. There is the acellular layer. Acellular layer means it is not made up of cell. So the function of basement membrane is that, first thing is it acts as a cementing layer. Just like when we fix tiles in our home, below we provide cement. So the same way this acts as a cementing layer. So basement membrane. So first function is that. Second function is that it will have rich supply of blood capillaries and all, so that the cells receive continuous supply of nutrition, and waste also can be removed from the cells. Third function is that whenever there is any wear and tear and the cells gets removed and new cells needs to be formed from pre-existing cells, the raw materials will be provided by the basement membrane. So these are the basic functions of basement membrane. Now sometimes these epithelial tissue, they get modified into secreting nature. Secreting means they start giving out some fluidic secretions. So under such condition, they are called glands. So glands are modified epithelial tissue. The glands may be unicellular glands or multicellular glands. Unicellular means suppose there is the layer of cell, and each cell, suppose after this also there should be one cell, but this cell will become secretory in nature, and when individual cells become secretory in nature, they are called unicellular glands. For example, the mucus cells present like in the lining of our nose and lining of our entire intestine and all. So those mucus glands in our stomach, so these are unicellular glands. Goblet cells are found in your intestine. And sometimes what happens, this lining, this entire layer of cell will get folded. So when the entire layer of cell gets folded and it forms a pit-like structure, and then the cells will secrete the secretory juice. So such kind of gland is called multicellular gland. For example, we have salivary gland, sebaceous gland. Sebaceous means oil producing glands of your skin. Now it may be simple like this, or it may get further branched. Now sometimes it happens, it becomes very complex kind of a gland. So like this also you will find many glands are there. So these are all multicellular glands. So that's the overall thing about epithelial tissue. Squamous, cuboidal, columnar, stratified, 4 types of epithelial. When they get modified, they are called glands. What is the structure? where they are found, where they are located, and what are the functions of the basement membrane. Thank you. In the next video, I'll be discussing about connective tissue.